Welcome to
Yes,
Biosonics, another podcast. We're so excited. It's been a while.
it
And
has
our
been.
and
Yep.
our topic today, we're in the middle of class, so we're always immersed, but for podcasting, we're on a new topic called
Sound and dreams.
sound and dreams.
Right.
I'm scared.
Don't go to sleep.
Don't ever sleep. So let's start. So sound and dreams. And this is our upcoming class. So we always like to do a podcast surrounding something that you're going to be teaching. And so first, let's just define dreams, because immediately what comes to mind is a sleeping dream.
Yeah,
You
that's
dream.
always what comes. Yeah, it
Yes.
always comes. Everybody thinks, well, I'm dreaming, or I'm sleeping, or I'm awake. They don't realize that you're simultaneously dreaming, sleeping, and awake. That's science. That's not me talking, that's science. So, right now, if you're watching this podcast, you may think you're awake, but you're also dreaming and you're also sleeping. So, the question is, what consciousness do you want to have, that would serve you best for what you're doing? So, if we're always dreaming, we think, oh, I'm only dreaming when I'm asleep. But that's true. You're sleeping and then you're dreaming. And if you're awake when you're dreaming, we call that a lucid dream, right? When you're sleeping without dreaming, the great philosopher and guru from India, Patanjali, called that a long wave of thought about nothingness, right? Right. And so we just need to understand that when I say sound and dreams, we're talking about dream consciousness and how we can access it at any time, anywhere, and why we'd want to do that, whether it be in sleeping, whether it be in waking, and so on.
Okay, so then why would we want to access a dream
Well,
state?
we would want to have, for example, a vision of our future, putting things together. We'd want to, because of times when we're dreaming at night, if we keep a journal, we want to learn to remember our dreams. And Edgar Casey said, today's dreams are tomorrow's answers to questions, right? So, a great rabbi said, a dream is a letter unopened if you don't pay attention to it. So we want to learn how to work with our dream consciousness, to give it attention, so that we can begin to tune into it and allow it to give us information about ourselves and our surroundings and where we're going, so that we could use that in our daily life efficiently. And that's not done that much in the West at this point. When I work with refugees and so on, a lot of them came from cultures that dreaming was more real than waking. So we think, oh, being awake is more real than dreaming. Dreaming is not real. There are other cultures that have totally the opposite view, that dreaming is more real than waking, and waking is not that important. So I once interviewed a Sonoy a young child, and he said, when I wake up in the morning, the first thing I do is go into my parents and I tell them my dreams. And I'm going, I never did that with my parents. They didn't want to hear about my dreams. They didn't want to know what went on at night. I woke up and they said, what are you doing today? You're going to school. Whereas in other cultures, the first thing they say is, what did you dream last night? And this family sits around, they talk about what they dreamed before they do anything else. And oftentimes they have music that goes with their dreams, or they use music to incubate their dreams and different sounds. So dreaming can be very, very important. We have the view is that if a person is a dreamer, there's a problem with them. Oh, that person's a dreamer. That means that they don't really get anything done, right? But Van Gogh says, I dream my paintings, then I paint them, right? So we want to learn how to intertwine our dreaming reality and our waking reality so they can be in a good balance. Right now, I think from a Western culture point of view, it's more out of balance. So we want to bring that balance back, but not go so far into dreams that we get lost or spaced out, people would say, or go so far into waking that we become materialist and dreams are just nothing. They're random thoughts that go by at night. They mean nothing. They never have meant anything. And so we need to find some way in our class to come to a good balance with that. So you can use your dreaming consciousness for healing.
Do you mean out of balance? You said in Western culture we're out of balance. Do you mean out of balance more in terms of disregarding dreams?
Yes, for disregarding dreams. I can't remember my dreams. I dream at night. My dreams have nothing to do with what goes on for me during the daytime, and so on. And I remember I developed this instrument called a dream synthesizer, and I put in there my report card from the first grade. And it said, in those days they gave you little cards that pictured write a note, and it said, John is a dreamer. He's a daydreamer. There might be something we need to do about that.
Well, nowadays there's a pill for dreaming.
Exactly, so we can stop that dreaming. So,
But what you're saying is the importance of being able to balance a dreaming, what we would consider to be a dreaming state and a waking state.
yes.
So not being lost in a dreamland, and also not being lost in just a waking reality.
That's correct. We need to find out how they work together. So and oftentimes, for example, we don't remember our dreams because we don't pay attention to them. Right? If you don't pay attention to a little child goes off and does something else, and so on. So we need to learn how to pay attention to our dreaming consciousness, how to value it, and how to integrate it correctly into our daily life. That would be a balance for what we need to do.
And so you're talking about, what I'm getting is just dreams as important information that
Yes,
is important for your life, that you definitely want to integrate and not discard.
that's correct. And many people just discard it or don't pay attention to it. But if you look at the literature from great scientists, from Einstein to, it goes on and on and on, they all talk about they discovered what they were interested in their dreams, right? So things come to us in dreams that are extremely valuable, but if we don't pay attention, we lose out on what that could help show us or help others with.
And when you say, yes, obviously there's the sleeping dreams where you can get the
But
information and pay attention, but also what would be an example of, a waking dream? Is that sort of like just a vision or a daydream
it's
or?
both.
Yeah.
I think if you're in a state of consciousness where you're not involved with all your waking responsibilities, even though they could be, but my favorite is you could be at work and you're working and you got all those responsibilities and all of a sudden you're daydreaming, right? It's like you just, in a way, dreams, and someone's going to say you're dreaming because it's an escape, right? Whereas if you actually could use your daydreaming, I get so much from daydreaming. I mean, I'll just sit there and go off, and I come back and I see all kinds of new possibilities, new ways of doing things. My way of handling in writing, for example, when I come to something that I get stuck with, I immediately just go and lay down and dream, and then I come back to it. And all of a sudden, it begins to come into better focus.
Is there something that stands out to you as an example of this in your own life where you went
You
off?
know, well, I think it's every day at every moment. I just do it so much. I don't know if anything stands out. It's become so normal that that's just the way life is. If I want to improve on something, I've got to, for example, my favorite was when I was in college. I was in the swim team. I was a diver. And I learned then that if we sat and we just closed our eyes, I could see ourselves moving in space, right? Like a meditation, that it would improve my diving drastically. Then I coached the diving team for at City University of New York at Lehman College, and they were last, and they had good technique and stuff like that. But I had them sit and would have them just go into visualization in a dreamlike state, and added that to their normal routine. Well, we came in second in the city, and then basically 2 years later, we won city championships. We weren't doing anything different other than that. These are examples that really, that I remember from my past that stand out. But it also showed me how important it is when we're awake to access our dreaming consciousness, which we might call visualization in that case, and to be in a state where you could just relax and watch the images go by. And I would talk with them about how they lift their hips, how they see themselves in the air. It made a big difference.
So that would be more of an intentional visualization
Yes.
going into a dreamlike state
Yeah.
for a
Yeah.
purpose.
Absolutely. When I play golf, and any golfer will tell you, you just don't get up and hit a shot. Like if the target's 250 yards away, you look at the smallest thing possible, right? And you aim at it. But when you aim at it, you see the ball, you feel, you see, you feel, you hear. Everything becomes, it's like you're in a dream watching that ball go that way. You watch them do it on TV all the time. They just stop and they visualize the shot. They dream it. You know, that's dreaming consciousness. Because there's a lot of names for dreaming consciousness other than dream, which means more nighttime. So we could say waking dreams. We could use different, terminology for that.
And in terms of like there's visualization, dreaming, where you can clearly direct your consciousness to visualize something, as opposed to a sleeping dream where it feels like you have less control. It's just happening for
Well,
you
that's
in a
why,
way.
but that's why we need, at part of classes, how do we interpret dreams? So if you have a sleeping dream, first, how do you learn how to remember your dreams? Secondly, how can you interpret your dreams so that when you have it, you can say, what is this dream telling me? What's going on here? What are the facets of it? And you could have it also, so with what I'm teaching in class, you could do it with a friend, you could do it with other people, you do it with your family. Once you learn how to do it, you can help other people with their dreams.
What is your take on like a dream dictionary or these kind of definitions of dream
Yeah, yeah.
stuff?
Well, that'd be the very last thing I would do. I do recommend a dream dictionary, but I don't recommend it first. Without these other skills, it's useless. But it can sometimes inspire, something. But I wouldn't ever take it as the ultimate interpretation or anything like that. For example, what I teach in class is that we never interpret somebody else's dream. For example, if you tell me a dream, I would say, you're saying, I want to give this dream to you. So I repeat back your dream in first tense. I'm dreaming this. I'm dreaming this. If I'm dreaming this, this is how I would interpret it, how I would see it. But I never say this is about you. It's really your job to say this made a hit. I felt something from what you said, or I didn't, or a little bit, and so on. And you go around the room, if you're dealing with one person, or two or three or four, each person says, I. They never say you, right? So everybody's safe. Nobody's trying to figure out anybody's life, but everybody is now dreaming your dream that you gave them as their dream.
I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's very quantum, actually. It's quite beautiful.
it's almost like how we should just be in life.
Yeah, that's right. That's actually in all my classes that I don't allow people to go in and tell people what you got this about you, I got that about you. I absolutely do my best to stay away from it.
Yeah. You had quoted Yeats, who said, "In dreams begins responsibility." I really like
Yes.
that. So, what does that mean?
Well, that means that if you have a dream, that points out something. For example, if I have a dream about a book or a sentence that I want to write, I have to wake up in the morning and write it. You know what I mean? I have to, and all that's saying is that's the bridge between waking and dreaming, right? I dream it, it's valuable, I wake up and it's important to me and I act it out. So I could say my whole life has been about manifesting dreams in that sense.
Responsibly.
Responsibly, absolutely responsibly.
With coherence.
With coherence, so they can serve others as well as me. So if I get, we would say from an alchemical or mystical point of view, if the muses talk to me in my dream and they bring me something, it's up to me to act on that in reality. And I've talked with many artists and stuff. It's very interesting. They'll say, well, I dreamed it, but I didn't do anything about it because the muses brought it to me. And sure enough, somebody else, but I didn't do anything. They brought it to somebody else and they did it. Right? So, right. So we don't act on our dreams that are like this. Somebody else will figure it out.
So that's interesting just because in the class we're taking now, the quantum cranial class, you talk about another term, muses is one term, and another term is these star patterns that are in the sonic field
Yeah.
that have information that can be translated as an inspiration or a realization.
Yes, and they come through dreams. In fact, we haven't gotten in the class I'm teaching now. Once we get to the spinal part, the next part is going to be on the 7 levels of a still point, where we go and the importance of dreaming. And in fact, the area right through here in our brain was called the Great Dream Lodge.
So just the place above your nose, inside of your
This right
cranium?
here, and if you go backwards in a way into your head, you'll come to this beautiful place in what's called the third ventricle, and that was known for thousands of years, and it's called by different names. It's called the Cave of Brahma. It's called the Great Dream Lodge. It's consciousness that ascends into dreaming time. It's called dream time in Aborigines. We call that for them, dreaming was more important than waking. But once we locate our consciousness there, then everything's like a dream. We can walk through walls, we can fly, we can do whatever we want. We can say we become more energy beings in that sense and more flexible. So dreaming is extremely important, but we want to bring it to earth. It says, as above, so below. And so therefore, if we dream it, and it's something that could serve, we're responsible for bringing it to earth and manifesting it.
And since the whole Biosonics is about vibration, could in a way the dream could be very specific that you do have to take action on, but it's also a vibration that could manifest in many different ways.
Thousands of ways, and that's why we interpret it. We don't want to rigidify it. That's where the fuzziness comes in also, because now we want to go with the feeling tone of the dream, what our felt sense of it is, how it's vibrating us, and then we want to say be open to creative manifestations of it in our life and for those around us. So it's not like such a linear kind of thing. It could happen that way, but it's unusual. We dream it, and the dream can show up in 1,000 different forms and contexts, and we wouldn't know it unless we knew the felt feeling of it. I oftentimes say with the house I live in now in New York, when I first saw it, I didn't like it, but it met the practical. We had to move quickly with twin boys, so it met the practical aspect. But at the same time, the more I got into it, the more I realized it met my dreams. Every criteria I had was met. But I got lost in the physical part. And there's a very famous shaman, a book called Black Elk Speaks. And Black Elk is a Sioux shaman, and he goes on a dream journey quest, and he says that it's in the darkness of men's eyes that they get lost. So the dreaming is a felt feeling that's manifesting in 1,000 different ways. But you can say, I dreamed it, it's got to be exactly like I dreamed it. right? And there comes the challenge, because it will never ever fit. The fuzzy logic has to come in, like, I think we talked before, all the kids dream, I want to be a rock and roll person, right? I mean,
Yeah, or
yeah,
or a race car
or
driver
whatever,
or an
or a race
astronaut.
car driver or astronaut or whatever it may be. And that's good, so you move in that direction, but it may change, it may shift, and it may not work out the way you thought it would. But when you really begin to look at it, you find that you got exactly what it is that you needed. And I think even the rock people talk about that.
So how does the sound aspect enter into the whole dreamscape, whether it be a waking dream, a lucid dream, a dream,
Yep.
sleep dream,
Because
a
sound
vision?
will bring us into dreaming consciousness. And you name the culture, they've all done it. You got the Aborigine didgeridoo, you got flutes with the American Indians, we've got proving whistling vessels, we've got the tuning forks now. I always say, tap the tuning fork, have a good thought before you go to sleep about and dream, and that's it. The simple way to do it. We could be more complex with it, but that's simple. Sound is the gateway into dreaming consciousness. We incubate our dreams with sound. We sit in circles and we make sounds and we go off into dreams. There are people doing the sound baths. That's what they're doing. They're just sitting there playing their crystal bowls, and people aren't they're just gone. They just wait. Oh, go, wow, I can go off into the dream world here, and they let go. And then they come back, and maybe they receive something, or maybe they didn't, but I guarantee you they received something. They may not have seen it visually. There's something that they got. And when you ever go into the dreaming world, we want to go in with the right intention, and have the right, in a way, set up the direction to honor that world, so we can receive what we need and bring it back.
And I always look at, I was just thinking a lot about intention recently, because it is itself a vibration.
Yes.
So can you speak a little bit about just intention and going into sound?
Well, intention becomes interesting, because I say, you must pretend before you intend, right? That means you must dream, right? You must dream before you bring it to earth, and then you must constantly go back and forth with a feedback loop between what's happening and what you dream. So I've never met an artist that ever was satisfied with whatever they created. There's always another level, another level, another level, and so it's the dreaming is ongoing. It's always happening. And our intention is, the moment we want to intend it, we take the pretend, we take the dream, and we intend to manifest it. That's our intention, right? And the intention, if we don't have fuzzy logic, could become devastating. I mean, it didn't work out the way I wanted, rather than something happened, let me evaluate, give it value, because I acted on it, I gave it value, what did I get back?
And just give a 2-second fuzzy logic, just for people who don't understand.
Well, fuzzy
what
logic
that
is this simple. Everybody wants to have right and wrong. This is how we call dichotomous thinking. Science proves exactly everything. There's no doubt about it, and so on. So fuzzy logic is, if you have a light switch that has a dimmer, and you have a light switch that doesn't have a dimmer. One light switch is on or off. The other light switch is, you got lots of possibilities between, thousands of possibilities of levels of light, until you can say that resonates with me, rather than on or off. It's the same thing in music. How many sounds are between C and C sharp? Infinite, right? There's a dimmer switch there, and different cultures put more emphasis on the sounds between the notes than the notes. Right? That's in India, that's called shrutis. And the shrutis are the sounds between the sounds, and they're meant to actually incubate dream states when you're listening. That's the basis of the raga.
So really, sound and dreams, which I didn't even consider before, is really like the whole Biosonics philosophy in a way. It's
very integrated into Biosonics. It's very integrated into my work. When I'm always saying dream, dream, dream. It's where I like to say, if you want creativity, can't exist without dreaming. So you want to be creative and adaptable and flexible for stress management, for anything in your life, you have to understand dreaming in a positive way and how to use it.
Is there a difference between just meditating and dreaming?
Well, meditation becomes, again, a way of transcending. If it's done correctly, you're not focused on dreaming, you're not focused on waking, you're not focused on sleeping. You're just allowing things to pass without giving them your energy in a way. So a meditation would be more moving towards a place of stillness inside, right? That's of non-involvement, so that we can come back more energized for involvement.
So in a way, there's sort of just levels of depth, meaning a meditation is more, like you said, non-involvement, and then you could, as you come back to regular waking state, that could be more of the dream state where you're.
Well, then when you come back, you now have more access to waking and dreaming and so on. So if you're meditating, you could have a dream while you're meditating, but the dream isn't what you ideally, your meditation would lead to a still point, to a place where you're not involved that much with anything, because you let your thoughts come effortlessly and spontaneously without having to grab onto them.
Okay.
Right? And when you come back, and now all of a sudden you can grab onto something, you'll be better off doing it. When I worked at the hospital, for example, I had lots of very stressful situations, and I had my own office, and thank goodness I could go in there, close the door, and I'd close my eyes, and my mind would be going a mile a minute, right? But the moment I started meditating, I didn't try to stop that, but I wanted to just sit there without having to identify with it, right? Let it pull me like it would be. But the moment that I was leave my office, I'd feel, even though nothing stopped, I knew everything was still happening, but something inside of me was more coherent and able to deal with it much better.
So how important is this practice?
Well, it's very important because it's the basis of dealing with change in your life. It's the basis of stress management. It's the basis of creativity. It's the basis of adaptability, and it's the basis of service when it's done correctly.
There's so much anxiety and information coming at us from so many directions so quickly.
Right.
Like how fast, what would be like a prescribed practice for people who just don't have time? I mean, how do you integrate this into your busy life?
Well, what I do is just say, take C and G, do it 1 minute in the morning, 1 minute at night. Do something.
So C and G meaning the C tuning fork and the G tuning fork.
Yeah, I take these two tuning forks.
Two tuning forks, yeah.
Right, and you tap them on your knee or your shoe, and you tap them, and they'll make a sound, and you hold it like this. But before you do that, you just say, if you do it at night before you go to sleep, you ask that your dreams come and assist you and put things together for the next day, right? So that'll be a fuzzy intention, right? And the sound is incubating a dream state, and you go into it, in your dreams, and you wake up, and you can do it again and say, I want to incubate a good day, and so on. Simple thoughts, right? But in dream class, we'll go into more the source of why I would say that, why it's important.
Is there a difference between working something out, like you just saw a violent movie, like right before you went to sleep, right, and then you dream about that? Is there a difference of what I would call like working it out, what you just saw, processing, and then actually getting information that you need for your life?
Yes, there is, because some dreams are unwinding dreams, right? Meaning, when I worked in the sleep lab, for example, I didn't expect this, but I thought I went in with the wrong, I didn't know, but I thought it'd be like the cartoons where people were, like sleeping.
Oh, wait. So you worked in the sleep lab and you thought it was just
Yeah.
going to be like some
Yeah,
easy
yeah. I could just
job.
sit there all night and watch people. This is going to be interesting, And it comes down. You see the eyes, the rapid eye movement going. We'll talk about that REM movement and so on, in different stages of sleep. But all of a sudden, you see people pop, pop, pop like that, pop, pop, pop like that, like that. What I mean? And go,
Like
whoa,
doing spasms, like
this is like
spasming.
crazy. 'Cause I've been sitting there half asleep myself, and all of a sudden someone goes like that, and they don't even know they did it, right? And so a lot of times, if you watch a violent movie and you're wound up like this, you're like a rubber band. So at night, as you begin to dream and you begin to go to more stillness, your body unlines like a rubber band that's been tight, right? You're looking for a state of coherence. And that's exactly what CNG does in advance. So I thought, well, let me just now do CNG with them and see how many movements there are at night. And you can see right away it cut down on all of this.
Oh,
But
so
those
so you're
movements,
saying in the sleep lab you had the participants do the tuning
yes,
forks before
yes,
they went to sleep?
yes, I did it for them. Just I wanted to see what happened to their movements, and sure enough, you would see less.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, that's how I also learned that you could tap them together. This is what I like so. And I tell people just to move like this, like Qigong or something.
Hmm.
Then it's even better because now you're unwinding your body somatically before you go to sleep. So it's nice if you tap like this, move, and this, like so, a good thought, and go to sleep. Now, your chances of having what I call unwinding dreams are less than, but it's possible to have random things go through that are just unwinding thoughts, and that's okay too. You begin to recognize those for what they are as you become more aware of the different things that can happen in dreaming. We
Mm,
don't know people in the West don't know the dream world. They don't understand it at all.
yeah. I mean,
It's not for, if you think it's for a therapist to interpret your dream, that's Freudian and so on. I learned all that. I learned Jungian dream work and so on. I don't like to interpret people's dreams like that. I like to be in the dream with them, and then and allow it to come forward. I always say, if I had that, I'm dreaming this dream. Thank you for sharing it. And then we could use Gestalt methods, Edgar Cayce methods, all these methods, but they must come from first person, not from I know this more about you than you do.
yeah, that's what I feel like, at least in the Western world, dreams are more, it's not, it feels more staccato. Like I have a dream and here's the interpretation, dream interpretation.
Yeah. Let me look in the
There's
book and
no
see.
integration. Yeah, there's not that
Yeah.
integration, which is interesting. And
Well, and
yeah, go ahead.
there's not that much taking time to be a dreamer, right? Or expecting too quickly the result of a dream. We don't understand it. You have a dream where you're flying. Well, what does that mean, you see? Well, I wouldn't say if you told me well, you had a dream, you gave it to me you said you had a
Oh
right
yeah.
turn to the ethmoid bone. Well, I dreamed it right away. I'm going, here I am, I have a right turn, right, the eth. Sometimes a dream is a pun. So I'm thinking, wow, it's right, the ethmoid to go to there.
Oh, yeah. That's funny.
It's the right direction, the ethmoid bone.
Right, right, right. Yeah.
And then I noticed that the next day, after I saw it, again, I didn't interpret the dream for you, I interpreted it for me. This is what Carl Jung did when he worked
Okay.
with Wolfgang Pauli, the great physicist. Pauli would send him dreams, and he would dream Pauli's dreams and tell him what he got when he was in the dream, right? So, this is so important to do that,
Wow, that's like
and
I didn't, as you were describing it before about giving someone your dream and having them do
right,
first person, like if it were me,
yeah,
that's like a whole, I didn't, it's just coming to me, that's a really whole nother level of like giving someone your dream that is also information for that person then.
Yeah, once I explained, like I just said to you, I'm in this dream. I see a pun there.
Yeah.
You don't have to believe that or not believe it. This is
Right.
me.
Yes,
Right?
yes.
Period. And you could look at your somatic intelligence. It will go like that or like that. It'll tell
Right.
you
Oh, I
if it's
love this. This is like a whole new world because as you're so basically what happened is I we're in the cranial class and I emailed Dr. John a funny dream I had, which was about the ethmoid, which I had never even heard of until the class, the ethmoid bone. And I dreamt that I made a right into the parking lot of Ethmoid Street or whatever. So now Dr. John's interpreting that. Now he's dreaming the dream, and how would he react?
Yep.
But as you were just saying that back to me,
Right.
I was like, oh, like I got it like a yes in my body, like, oh yeah, a right, like the right turn,
Right.
meaning it's right. But that resonated in my body, meaning I get to interpret it now back into me from
Yeah.
my own somatic bodily felt sense.
That's correct. And if you have 6 people that are doing it,
Oh, that's so fun.
it's like things bouncing off
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
you,
It's so
but
much.
nobody's focused and saying this is the right for you. Only you. No, only you. But that doesn't mean that other people didn't get something from your dream. I got something from your dream. The moment I go into a dream, I get something.
Right, right.
Right. So that, by the way, was that's not something I pioneered. I began thinking that way through my Jungian work. But there's a doctor named Montague Allman who he wrote a book on dream telepathy. He was in the sleep lab that I worked. That's why I got involved with him. But basically, he's the one that set the idea of first person, and gave it to me to work with my work. So whatever the dream work I do, and I would teach, Gestalt or Casey, whatever it may be, Jungian, it's in first person.
But again, which we said before, this does make sense with your everyday life. Meaning, if someone tells me something and it's not a dream, it's just how they feel. This is, to me, it sounds like a good exercise just to be doing all the time.
Yes. Well, I do it all the
Yeah,
time.
I know you do.
I live, and after a while, the dreaming and waking are this, they're just constantly like a teeter-totter working with each other. I'll just stop and dream and come back and so on. My books that I've written were all started in dreams, and and I had to work really hard to manifest the books. But the dreaming part of it was always a guide. It was always guiding. And there was not one book I wrote that I wasn't disappointed with something. And every time, those disappointments disappear because it's hard to explain because I manifested it. I always find something that's not quite right. And a lot of times I find things that are not quite right that 10 years later are perfect, right? So I've just learned to live with that. I tell the story, my biggest concern was when I wrote Music and Sound of Healing Arts as my first book, and it was released, and I was at a conference, and they sent in like 100 copies, and I was so embarrassed that I said, people are going to see I'm from Indiana. and I wrote a dumb book. That's where my head was at. This is really, but I had to pay the price because I manifested it. So I kind of like hid in the room, and I finally came out, and it took me, I think, a long time to figure out, what I'd done, and I had to come out of my mental womb, and sooner or later I said, yes, I manifested a dream that I wanted for everybody, and so now it made the next book easier, and so on.
I love that you just said you have to pay the price for
Yeah.
manifesting. I think I think you just said it so well. Everyone can relate to that.
Yes,
Like,
and that price isn't always negative. The price could be positive. Everybody said, "Oh God, this book is great," and I said, "No, it can't be." So I was the one paying the price.
right.
I was
No,
beating
but
myself up.
no, absolutely. But I think people can relate in terms of when
Yes.
you're a creator, that you never think your work is really good enough. And yeah, in 10 years from now, it could be like, oh, what was I so concerned about? So you have to
Yeah.
be really in a good relationship with that creative process and that everything changes
Yeah.
all the time.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's there's a price to pay, but you learn it and you just can't stop. In other words, I've been in the healing arts, 60 years, 50 years, a long time. And there's many times I had a chance to quit, but I didn't. But you have to keep going and pay the price. It's that there's no other possibility. At this point, for me, there is no other possibility. It's so ingrained. But the moment that because if you don't get it exactly right the way that you wanted it, it's not that important. What's important is that you acted on it. That's what's important. You acted on your dream. You did something, and if you don't do anything, that will just back up on you. Right? So, and it may have hurt that somebody didn't like your dream, right? Or whatever it may be. Well, that hurts, a small price to pay for not acting on your dream.
Is there any concern in dreamland that you could say? I mean, I'm just thinking of, people have nightmares, or maybe people get wrong information or interpret it wrongly or take actions on something that isn't in alignment. Like, how do you...
Well, that's what I mean. You have to balance both sides, right? So if you have a dream, you should shoot somebody, and you go out and shoot them. Well, that's ridiculous. But that person would have to have other problems to act on a dream like that. It may not mean that at all. It could be, it could mean that it's a compensatory dream, right? That if you get rid of that person, things will come back into balance, right? But there's other ways of saying I'm out of balance, and you learn how. Nightmares too. In class, I talk about nightmares, and nightmares, you look at the feeling tone of the nightmare rather than the images, and you can learn how to deal with it. Nightmares are often messages. It's something scary for you. You're not. It's something you don't know how to deal with. Or a nightmare could just be saying, there's something in your life you need to learn how to deal with, you're not dealing with it. Is there another way to be with it? It's training you in a way. So dreams are very powerful. And to not pay attention to them is to me, outright absurd. It comes down to what I call the divide in the medical model now. When I learned acupuncture, it was like, this number does that, this number does that. And then I learned the poetry, the dream poetry of acupuncture. This is the gateway to spirit. This is the bubbling well point. And there's something about when you have those two working together, one doesn't invalidate the other. They make a sense of of unity, of movement. So dreaming and waking and labeling all come together.
Yeah, as everything is this dance.
It's a dance, always. It's a dance.
And that we can use the dance for our highest value and for the value
of others.
Of others.
The highest form of enlightenment is service to others, right? That's the healing arts. But it could be anything you do, as long as it's done in the name of service. And then you have your dreams will support you in doing that. You'll be working, and all of a sudden, I can't tell you how many dreams I've had where a patient would come to me and I would see them differently in the dream, and I would go and be with them again, and I would allow myself to act on things that I saw in the dream and how it helped them.
Yeah, when you're tuned in.
Yeah, I remember I used to do a lot of cranial late at night, cranial work where you have to hold it. I was doing hands-on cranial work, and I would be doing the work, and then it's like, it's your 10th, 12th patient, 20th patients a day, I don't know, and all of a sudden it's like 8 at 10 at night or something. I'm going, how you go like that? And so I'm working with this woman, I'm like that, like going to dream.
Nodding out.
Nodding out. All of a sudden I nod out, and I hit her in the head like that. And she goes, that's it. That's it. Thank you.
That's funny.
And at first I was judging myself, and then I said, wait a minute, there's an intelligence here that came, it's working for her. Let me just, there's something good that happened. Let's piggyback on it. And maybe I could find a different way of getting there next session, but
Right.
it worked this session.
Right. Meaning you don't intend to go do those things,
No, I
but
didn't.
sometimes stuff happens with your you do the work, you get in alignment, you get
Not,
coherence, you get information, and then whatever happens, happens.
but the field was one of service that it happened in. Right. It wasn't I trying to hit her head or
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't intend, I didn't want to go to sleep and not help. Everything in that field was about serving her. Right. So the moment that that happened, at least I knew I was in a field. That's what its intention was. But I thought with this intention, perhaps I could discover better ways than conking people in the head. But you never know. Sometimes you're guided. So I didn't, I went along with it and it worked out great for her. She said it changed her whole life.
Wonderful. Okay. Is there any last words on sound and
Well,
dreams? I'm excited.
yeah. I just, again, think it's so, this is a class I haven't taught for 10 years. And I'm being, for me, it's like I'm being called to teach it. And it goes perfectly with the cranial class. We'll see, especially the last part of it. It's something that I think is actually more universal than the cranial in a way.
Much.
It's something, yeah, much more. And it integrates with the cranial, integrates with everything, and so we can learn and to pay attention to our dreaming self without letting it, well, sometimes we're so afraid it's going to take us over. Someone's going to call me a dreamer, right? You're a dreamer. You don't have anything to do with anything. That we want to take that risk, and become dreamers, but become dreamers that manifest our dreamers in the name of service. Service to ourselves, service to our families and others, and using sound to go in, to create a coherent state, to incubate the dreams, and learn how to interpret them in many different ways, basically through what we might call a fuzzy logic interpretation scheme, and learn how to recognize that we're manifesting our dreams, even when it doesn't look like we're manifesting them, as long as we're on the right path.
Yeah. Like the example of your house. You didn't think it was your dreams, and
No,
then you realized it totally was your dream.
yeah, and the more you do this, the more it gets ingrained and natural. Things that look mystical all of a sudden are normal. Things that show up out of nowhere all of a sudden are normal because you dream them, you resonate with them, and then they come to you. And when they come to you, they may not look like what you dreamed, but all of a sudden you realize the felt feeling in your body resonates with the form that's in front of you. And you again can say, let me move in that direction. Whereas if you dream it and then you're looking into your life and you say it doesn't look like what I dreamed, even though your somatic intelligence is telling you that it is what you dreamed, it's in a different shape, and you turn it off and walk away from it, that's a problem, And we need that's the lack of knowledge of integrating the two together.
Right. And listening to your somatic
Yes, your
self.
body. There's Eugene Grinland wrote a book, Let Your Body Interpret Your Dreams, which we'll talk about. That's the somatic intelligence. When you're aware of your dream and your felt feeling of your dream, you can begin to see your dream all around you in different shapes, different forms that weren't necessarily the visual shape of the dream, right? So it could look completely different than your actual dream, and yet it is your dream manifesting.
And the change from like this thinking that your dreams are not being manifested and all of a sudden seeing it is
Yep.
like can be instantaneous.
It should be.
Yeah.
I love it. That's the best. You just grab onto it. It's not what I expected, but boy, I feel it. And some people call it intuition. I call it somatic intelligence, right? Intuition is different, right? So we learn how to tune in, get to the felt feeling of our dream beyond the visuals, right? And then all of a sudden we see it manifesting, but it's not what we expected. But then if we don't move towards it, you know, the dreaming self says, wait a minute, like I brought this to you, but the visual reality is much more different than the dreaming reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what I want for people. And I want sound to learn how to incubate that, to learn how to interpret, to learn how to use their dreams constantly in our life. It's not that you would come to me as a therapist and I do your dreams. It's that you are constantly working with them, both waking and dreaming. If you don't remember your dream, it's very important that you still take time to be with your dream. Remembering, then you will essentially remember yourself with your dream self. That's what it's about. And then if you do it enough, you'll notice that while I'm talking now, I'm dreaming. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I just was going over your draft, sound
Yeah,
the workbook for the class, and I am one of those people who have not paid attention to my dreams at
Yeah,
all. But just even the one little protocol of what you were talking about today of just paying attention or inviting it in has already in like 2 days
yeah.
changed my whole dreamscape.
Yeah, and it's not a matter of you have to work with it like crazy. It's just a matter of every day or what you have to say, I'm spending 1 minute with my dreaming self, something like that. Use the tuning forks and dream. I'm going to wake up, even though I don't remember my dreams, I'm just going to sit and make some drawings on a paper that honor my dream.
Yeah.
And eventually the dreaming self will say, wait a minute, I've been atrophied all these years, and now all of a sudden someone's paying attention to me, and it might be angry in the beginning, but it will come around.
Yeah, it's like dusting off an old
Yep.
VHS tape or something. There's good
Yeah, yeah,
information in
exactly.
there.
Yeah. Or maybe your parents, when you were younger, said they didn't want your dreams or not, don't dream, all of that we can get over, we can get past.
Is there any, I know you're talking about more people get lost in our physical reality and get very stuck, but definitely I know people who also just get lost in dreamland, as we spoke earlier. Is ADD or anything like that related to kind of getting lost in that too many possibility dreamland, or is that separate?
No, I take it separate because it's a medical term ultimately. So that's defined medically, but at the same time, you're working with ADD as a lack of coherence in your consciousness. We've seen this in the brain class, right? So attention depth order, your waking self, beta is dominating, and the other ones aren't in sync with it, right? When you have waking, dreaming, and sleeping that are working together, you'll look at an EEG and you'll see they're rising and falling at different velocities, right? But they're even, they're working together, they're in sync, we say. And so now when your waking self comes on stronger, which is more beta alpha, you'll see that wave increase in amplitude, but the delta waves will still be there with it, but in lower amplitude. So you're just switching your focus, and whereas in ADHD, one amplitude's like this, the other one's like that. There's no coherency between the brainwave states. We want to have coherency between waking, dreaming, and sleeping. That's the goal.
Yeah, and have adaptability to switch.
Yeah, and to switch at will, be ideally, you can switch at will.
Cool. Awesome. Well, I
Good.
can't wait for the class. And if you're watching this, the class either is coming up or it will be available on
Yeah,
demand. So anyone could have access to all that good information
yeah, and the
that you
class is
have to
gonna
offer.
it's gonna have a workbook.
Yeah.
We're gonna have Thomas Workman, who's a great musician, multi-instrumentalist, world class, will come in. He'll do all the dream instruments from ancient cultures with us. We'll do the tuning forks and how to incubate dreams in different ways. And I have my dream synthesizer.
Yeah. Oh gosh, this is going to be fun.
Yeah, it's gonna, and you'll receive a workbook, and you receive the workbook of my dream synthesizer, all these kind of things, and how to have dream objects and dream crystals and so on. We'll do everything. Yep.
Fun. Super.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think this is a class that will appeal to a lot of, people.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
so
Because
versatile. Yeah.
yeah,
Everyone dreams.
we need our dreams, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I love it just how to work with it in such a grounded way that balances
Yeah.
all the aspects.
Yeah, that you, if you know, come to class, if I take a dream, like if you're online coming to class, I will have you tell a dream. I can't have everybody tell a dream, but it doesn't matter because somebody tells a dream, you take on that person's dream. And we'll have a few of us there, for example, I would say, I'm dreaming this, I would do it for you. I'd have two other people go. But on the chat, though, other people can give you all kinds of information.
Right.
Yeah, but they have to say, I'm dreaming this. Yeah, so it's going to work for online as well as in person. They go off and do groups, and online we stay with just me, and I do a group for everybody that way.
Wonderful. Okay, well, thank you so much. I'm excited for the class.
Good.
And we'll see you next time. More podcasts to come.
More podcasts to come. Great.
I have lots in the hopper that I have to edit and put out. So
I'll see you in my dreams.
yes, I will. I'm seeing you now in my. I'm seeing you now in my dream.
Yeah, right.